you all today, the third one I've done this year so far. And for this tier list, I have decided I'm going to rank all 52 movies that have made $1 billion at the box office. Forgetting that 52 movies have not made that much money at the box office, so I think it's been for a fun video to do, tier list to do so. And not beyond the bush, let's just get to the list. Okay guys, let's get into the ranking. As these, all $52 billion movies ranked, and I have many lists that I just ran out. We have Golden Money, which is basically the top tier of this. High Money, amazing, great, good, solid, decent, mixed, bad, crap. That should probably explain for itself. So, got 52 movies to rank here. So let's get on to the ranking. First up, we have Aladdin, the 2019 remake. I love the original Aladdin. It's definitely one of my favorite anime movies and films, period. And I remember not being excited for this one at all. Like, this is probably one of the few Disney remakes that I really wasn't pumped for at all. Because, like, I'm not sure if it would translate live action. Plus, Guy Ritchie, like, really? That's the best choice you could do? But honestly, that's really surprised me. And actually, I feel like it's kind of grown on me a little bit the more I watched it. Like, really, Jafar is really the only... Anything involving Jafar and the young girl is really the only major downside with this movie because, well, how they portrayed was pretty terrible. But everything else, with the actor that played Aladdin, Nameless got that great performance as Jasmine, even Will Smith did a fantastic job as a genie, not really Emily Robbie Williams, but doing his own take, but multi-time expecting that version of the character. And it ends up being just a great fun affection. Hell, I like some of the new songs they actually implement in this remake. So this definitely is one of the better ones I enjoyed. Again, I mentioned before, I'm kind of more forgiving on these remakes than most people, but this definitely is one of the better ones. So it's going actually in the it is going in the great money category. Yeah, again, Jafar and Yaga really is the major downside that does bring this movie down for me. Now we have speaking of live remake, we have Alice in Wonderland. The first one going in the Crab Night tier. Yeah, this is kind of what started that major trend of the most recent live-action remakes, honestly, and, well, the opposite hand not slow down on that. But this one definitely had potential, obviously, because, Tim Burton doing Alice in Wonderland, how could it not be successful? This is another thing that Tim Burton really has lost his magic in the movie industry and as a director. This definitely is one of his least favorite one of his worst movies. He do get some good performance here, and his style is still eminent. Like, they don't draw up Tim Burton, but his style is just chef's kiss. But at the same time, I kind of forgot what made Alice in Wonderland good in the first place. Yeah, it's definitely... Yeah, I think Richard was my least favorite remake before the Pinocchio remake came out. Yet that's now my least favorite. But yeah, this movie's not good. Now we get to Aquaman. Man, and it's gonna be interesting when it comes out next year, because it might be the last time I see Jason Momoa as this character. DC's in such a weird rut lately. The movie's been great, but just how they tried to do the universe and everything is just like, yeah. But I still have great time on Aquaman. It's actually going in the high money category. I always have a fun time whenever I rewatch this movie. Honestly, it's very goofy and everything, but it kind of knows it. And this one had like the first good DCU villain, played by Patrick Wilson, who is fantastic. It can feel like a little too like Black Panther some areas, but again, it embraces its funny goofiness, and I always smile and have a great time whenever I rewatch it. Now we get to the Avatar movies. Very divisive movies involving James Cameron, but me, I've always enjoyed them actually. I've always loved them actually. The first one, I understand the criticism, but they're basically being kind of ripped off of other movies. But this movie, I never enjoyed Avatar, but I think the more I watch it, the more I appreciate it. Not just for the visuals, but I don't even mind the characters or the world, and especially the music and everything. So I'm actually putting this in the amazing category, in the high money category. And I would say the same thing for his sequel, The Way of Water, which came out. Again, I already talked about this in my 2021, but I loved Way of Water, honestly. Again, I know you watched it since then, but I think it's actually a much better sequel, where at least this one doesn't actually feel like it's a retread of other movies. I'm never curious about what James Cameron does, but I'm not even curious if hopefully it doesn't make like this long for actually getting a sequel. Now we get to the Avengers movies, and you guys know how I feel about the MCU at this point. The Avengers, the first one that's going in the Golden Money category. I mean, I fucking love the Avengers, and even 11 years later, it's still one of the best movies in the MCU. Age of Ultron, it's going in the great category. Definitely my least favorite of the Avengers movies, but still a great and fun, highly entertaining movie, especially the Hulkbuster sequence. It definitely has its issues involving how it structures the story, but I like it a lot more than most people, and it definitely has some of my favorite MCU moments. Avengers Infinity War, also going in the Golden Money category. Still, almost 5 years later, I still love coming back to Infinity War. Even still 5 years this movie came out, man. But yeah, Infinity War is still amazing. So it's definitely a film that's continuing to grow on me the more I watch it. And, well, I think the ending still hits, the snap still hits. Thanos really is an incredible villain in space. That he is the best villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And definitely into Avengers Endgame. Which also is going on, okay, which is, again, the only flaw I have at Endgame is that I don't really feel like any MCU movie is going to top it. Because it is my favorite MCU movie, and it's actually not in my top 5 movies of all time. Yes, I'm going yet, people. People, yes. Then we have the Beauty and the Beast remake. Like I said before, I wouldn't enjoy the remakes a lot more than most people, and screw it, it's going in the amazing category. I've always loved this Jordan's remake, and even looking back on it, while I definitely still prefer the original, if I were to watch Beauty and the Beast, I would definitely watch the original more than the remake. For the remake offered, I think it's actually a little bit overhated, if I'm being honest. Honestly, I actually don't mind Emma Watson in this movie. I think Dan Stevens plays a great Beast. Again, Luke Evans plays an amazing Gaston in this movie. He's so entertaining and lively as his character. Even the new song that was on, I thought was great. And the production design, just. Then we have more Marvel, and that's Black Panther. Also going in the high money category. Again, definitely one of the more emotionally mature, complex movies in the MCU, and I think Juan Ever definitely elevates this movie a little bit, because then, Chad Boseman and William Gordon after this. Again, it does have some wonky CGI in the third act, but on that, I still always have a great time with Black Panther. Captain America Civil War, also going in the high money category. Again, almost like 6.5 years this movie came out, and it's still one of my favorite movies in the MCU. Still one of the most emotionally resonant, still have some incredible moments. Again, people still debate whether or not there are Team Captain and Iron Man to this very day. That's how I know movies really is through this time. I still love Civil War. Captain Marvel. Fortunately, I can't say because it's going in the solid, decent category. Again, I don't hate Captain Marvel, obviously, because it is in that category. But it's maybe I definitely have like the less, the more I think about it. And so far as the MCU movie, and so far as it's between this and Eternals on the MCU movie that I have rewatched the least. And I always love rewatching the MCU. Even some of the later movies on that I still love watching, come back to, but yeah, Captain Marvel. And again, it's still a fun movie, obviously. I still enjoy it, but the story tells all over the place. Still not sure how to feel about Captain Marvel as a whole. I think some of the villains are weak, the story's kind of weak, but you do get some fun action sequences, some fun moments, and that's good to see Young Nick Fury. Yeah. So now we get to Minions. That again amazed me with a good idea, honestly, because this is demonstration of proof that, hey, maybe we should make a movie where basically the side characters should be the main focus. And I think this one example is why you should not do that. Or at least don't deal with these characters. Again, I don't really hate it as much as everyone else does, but yeah, it's not good. Then we have Despicable Me 3. Mixed. I know I kind of sound on a little bit the more I think about it. But I'm not sure. So I don't really like the whole twin storyline that they went for here. Honestly, I'm still not sure how to fully feel about Drew in this movie. Like, he can be fun at times, but can also be incredibly annoying. I think the side plots are kind of weak, but the villain here is fantastic. Like, the villain here really stays this movie, honestly. And Trey Parker plays him and just, yeah. So yeah, again, that one, not again, definitely one of the weaker entries in the franchise. Then we have The Lion King, the original and the remake. The original is obviously also going in the golden category. Definitely one of my favorite Disney movie and one of my favorite films, period, and also in my top 10. I don't know what else to say about The Lion King, has already been said. And then we get to the remake, which is, yeah. And I don't hate this remake as much as everyone else does, but yeah, it definitely, as another movie that kind of down on me a little bit, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it sounds on me even more than what I think about it. Because again, considering it is very photorealistic and the animals don't really emote, it kind of loses the emotion and impact, but I think the visuals and the voice acting and the music still do save it from being a bad movie, but I definitely understand why people hate it though, but I'm definitely not on that train, but yeah. Now we have Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. Another movie that I think has gone down the more I think. Anyways, Finding Dory. Let's go in the good money category. Honestly, I definitely not reach the highest in Finding Nemo, honestly. Honestly, I think the story is kind of a little bit weaker. I feel like I have a rehash at times and everything, but this is at least one of the better opportunities of making a supporting character the main character. But doing one on Dory, I think, was actually a good idea, and Dory still is great in this movie, and everyone's invested in the story, though I don't think it really ends the best way. Vince Williams, somebody who does kind of involve lads, so definitely not one of the best Pixar movies, but not one of the worst either. Frozen. Now we're going to get to the biggest hot take on this list. I don't like Frozen. Yeah, I know some people are going to be not happy about this choice because I know Frozen's like a beloved this movie, and I also did love this movie when it came out. I did love Frozen when I first watched it, but I feel that the more I watched it, the less I liked it. Again, when you have nieces that are also obsessed with Frozen, that also doesn't help either. I think that the more I watch, the more flaws kind of appear in this movie. And it's fortunate because, again, this movie does have some great highs, honestly. I don't say it's still in the mixed categories. I don't think it's still a bad movie. I don't think Frozen is definitely a bad movie. It definitely has great highs with some of the characters, the ending, some of the music, some of the more characters I still love a lot in this movie. I just like the story and the world building really captivated me, honestly. And I think some of the decisions they made were not that greatest, so not the greatest. And of course the Hans and everything around with him being a twist villain, like really. And of course Fixer Up is not a good song, and Fixer Up like not really a good song at all. Just like it does have some great highs, but it does have some painful lows. Again, still has some music still is so great. Honestly, again, I still love Let It Go. I still love Do You Want to Build a Snowman. Honestly, it's one of the reasons that it does have some great moments, but it does have some pretty lackluster moments and movies that just overall I'm not really too invested in whenever I rewatch it. Obviously, not a bad movie because it is in the mixed category, but it's definitely not a movie I don't think is like one of the best Disney movies of all time, like some people think it has to be. And then we have Frozen 2. Yeah. Despite the fact I hate not only Frozen 1, I actually do love Frozen 2 on. I think this is actually a pretty underrated movie, actually. I really don't get a lot of the hate this movie does end up getting, a lot of problems here. Again, definitely it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I really admire the risk and direction actually takes with the story and with these characters, which actually feels like a more natural direction to take them from the first movie. I think the animation is breathtaking, has some really beautiful, wonderful moments. And I think the characters are still great. The development of everyone here, the interactions, the music is still great. And some very out there songs, but honestly, in my opinion, some of the best songs Disney has done on it, especially the one, especially especially the one with Kristoff, and of course Into the Unknown, and Show Yourself's also great as well. Like, and I really was invested with the story, and I actually felt a lot of the emotion that it was going for. Well, sure, I wish that some of the characters, supporting characters with me, were a bit more developed and a bit more handled. I still love Frozen 2. Frozen 2, and even rewatching it, I still do enjoy watching this movie. I don't know if I was gonna sick of it like the first one, honestly, but only time will tell. But yeah, as of right now, it's going in a high money tier. And now we have the Fast and the Furious. We have Fury 7, which is going in the great category. I've always loved Fury 7. Honestly, it definitely does have an issue with how some characters are developed and handled here, but what it is, Fury 7 I think still is a great film that, well, it doesn't really feel like a James Bond movie. It still continues with that dumb film logic. Again, I pretty much enjoyed this movie a lot more than most people. Even Fast 9, even though it's definitely the weakest of the new movies, in my opinion. Considering the trouble reduction it had with the unfortunate passing of Paul Walker, they did the best job that they could, honestly. They do get some bombastic actions, some fantastic character actions, and that ending gets me every single time. Then we have The Fate of the Furious. I actually was actually very lucky to see a few days before it came out, and personally, yeah, I'm very in the high money tier. That's one of my favorites of the franchise, in my opinion. Again, teasing with that dumb, schlocky fun, but not fun, but that's kind of makes it good. So it makes this great. Teasing with the more mayhem and everything. I like actually more invested with the story here as well. Honestly, I love that person scene with The Rock. Definitely has more screen time they did in Fury 7. And Jason Statham's character and their kind of rivalry here that honestly made them have their own spin-off movie, Hobbs and Shaw. I've watched The Rock. I don't know if he's going to end up appearing in the other movies or the last one, but we'll see about that. But yeah, it's bombastic, dumb, crazy fun. That has some great character action, some really touching moments, some really good surprises, and overall, this movie it's one of the Fast and Furious I always enjoy going back to. I don't know if that's going to be a popular opinion, because I know some people are kind of down on this movie, especially with that dumb title, but yeah, that's what it is. It is what it is. And now we have the two Harry Potter movies that made $1 billion. First up, we have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'm still... Oh, oops, wrong one. I'm still gonna put this... I'm putting this in the great money tier. And again, because it definitely feels like a lot more of a setup movie than anything, but between the first film and this franchise, it definitely delivers on what made this franchise so special. Fortunately, it's not really fun to talk about Harry Potter anymore because of, well, the adventures are rolling, so I'm probably keep this a little more brief than usual, which is why Harry Potter Part 2 is going in the amazing category, my personal favorite in the franchise. Let's move on. Then we have The Incredibles 2, a long-awaited sequel to probably one of my top favorite Pixar movie. That's one of my top two favorite Pixar movies. 14 fucking years. I don't know how long you wait for it if you end up getting Incredibles 3. But for me, Incredibles 2, in my opinion, delivered. It's going the high money tier. I mean, it's definitely not as good as the first one, obviously, but I definitely delivered on that family dynamics, and it pretty much still has everything I love about the first movie. Maybe the villain's not really as interesting, and it feels kind of more predictable this time around. But I think Greaser is actually a lot more compelling villain than a lot of people give him credit for. I think the animation is great. The characters, you feel like they have been playing these characters for years. It feels like an actual continuation of the first movie. The dynamic's great. Everything about Jack and everything. Jack really steals every scene that he's in. This movie is just so hilarious and just, I always smile whenever we watch it. I have a great time whenever we watch it. I'm happy we finally got this sequel. Then we have Iron Man 3, a film that I think is honestly, it's a film that truthfully I have enjoyed the more I watched it. Honestly, I think this is definitely a film that I think has grown on me the more I rewatch it. Cause I've always liked Iron Man 3, but I think on the more recent rewatches I've seen of Iron Man 3, I kind of really appreciate its uniqueness and how it stands in the MCU, and considering how it's not feeling a little more connected with the MCU, considering, we got Trevor Slatey in Shang-Chi. I actually think Iron Man 3 is actually a lot more better than people get credit for, honestly. I actually don't mind this time around, honestly. Dylan's still a bit weak, honestly, which is why it's not going higher up here, but I really like the emotional story that goes on with Tony Stark in this movie, all the stuff that he goes through here, and his relationship with the kid, which is a nice relationship from the movie. I think it's so beautifully directed, and this is Jane Black we're talking about. Talking about the writing is great, the directing is great, the humor is still great. Well, really touch on Evan Valentoni, what he's been through, especially after the first Avengers. Just kiss. Now we get to the Jurassic Park films. First up, we have Jurassic Park, which, it's obviously going in the gold medal category. It's my second favorite movie of all time, and it's the film that made me fall in love with films. Yeah, this is the film that has made me fall in love with movies. The original Jurassic Park, and personally is still my favorite film from Steven Spielberg. And now we get to the sequels that made $1 billion. Jurassic World, going in the good money category. And really just a dumb, fun movie that embraces some of the fun of the first movie and what goes in some weird directions, and some is kind of forgotten about what made the first one so good. At the same time, it still lives on that pure dino action that you would expect, and on that front, it's great. The acting is great all around. The character's not the best in the world. Again, as Sean Chan talked about, a fellow YouTuber I watched it, it's basically a Taco Supreme movie. Then we get to Fallen Kingdom, which is my least favorite of these three movies, and is going in the solid decent category. Again, I don't hate honestly, because I don't hate Fallen Kingdom as much as everyone else does. I know people like to really say this is one of the worst movies of all time, but I really don't get it honestly. Honestly, it's one of the things. I think the first act, I think is fantastic and incredible, and even have some great tense sequences in the third act. Everything else is just whatever. I wasn't huge on some new characters they introduced in this movie, and again, some characters are still kind of bland here, and start to check out the Raptors, like, really? Why are you going this direction? And then we get to the most recent one, Dominion, which, I'm putting in the good category, honestly. Again, definitely not a perfect movie. Again, it's definitely a weird decision for them to focus on Locust of all things and espionage in a Jurassic World movie. Like, that's why I still think it's a good version of that. I still think it has a lot of fun elements to it. I really loved and adored seeing the new cast here. Like, actually seeing Dr. Enoch have a more pivotal role here. And again, seeing just Alan and Ellie together is just, again, that first scene just filled me with joy. Honestly, and the interactions are still great. The interaction with Yugi is still great. And even some new characters aren't that bad, actually. Yeah, I'll say I enjoyed the main, probably more than most people. Again, obviously, all the anime was going to top the original, but for Jurassic World sequels, it's definitely the best one. I think The Lost World's still the best sequel in general, but yeah. Anyways, we're almost done. Let's go and talk about Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Another film that's going in the golden category. Again, I love the Lord of the Rings franchise. I love the trilogy. It's definitely up with the Dark Knight trilogy. It's my favorite trilogy of all time. And Return of the King is definitely the best in the entire series and one of the biggest epics of all time. Do I need to talk about why it's so great? I don't say. The Hobbit aspect of the journey, however, Yeah. In my opinion, this is actually my least fix. I think I enjoyed Desolation Smog and Battlefield is a little more than most people, being that I wouldn't even say they're like the top tier of this franchise. They're not definitely the best. They're just solid to good at best. I'll probably put both in the good category. So this is one where just, you can tell they're just stretching out the runtime here. A lot of times, and Bill Black is definitely a compelling antagonist here, and Martin Freeman's fantastic, and the sleep of the actors here are great as well. We do get some great moments and some fun interactions, but yeah, I never liked it when I first watched it, and while I definitely liked it more, obviously it's still not really a great movie in my opinion. And why they decide to split this trilogy into 3 movies is beyond me. Okay, money. Now we get one more recent one's Top Gun Maverick, which again it's going in the high money category. Again, I feel like I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. Honestly, it was obviously on my top, in my top, like, I think my number 6 best movie of that year. As a movie that still honestly gets better the more I think about it. And again, it really exceeds the first one in some way. Well, again, it can't feel like a rehash of this movie. At the same time, I still think it delivered on the pure adrenaline fun the first movie had, while building a lot more pure emotion. Then we have Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Now, I'm someone that actually has enjoyed the Pirates movies probably more than most people, honestly. Honestly, Dead Man's Chest is a sequel I've always really enjoyed, and I think it's kind of underrated, so I'm actually going to put it in a great category. Again, some elements can be a bit convoluted, and it can feel a bit too long, and that's an issue with most of the later movies, but for us, I think Dead Man's Chest is a lot better to be credit for. Again, it could be a lot for nostalgia's sake, but I always have a great time whenever. But I always have a great time whenever I rewatch it. Such a Tides, however, yeah, not a fan. So this is why, another perfect example of why you shouldn't make the supporting character the main character. That's pretty much it. This run, again, this movie I always, even after watching, I always then forget what happens in this movie. So that's kind of how forgettable it is. Now we get to Skyfall. Well, a film that's going in the high money category. Again, one of the best Bond movies out there. They're definitely my top 2 behind Casino Royale and No Time to Die, honestly. And continue on with that new interesting era of Bond, with Bond actually being an interesting character, and his people actually being interesting characters. Skyfall is still my favorite Bond song of all time. Then continue his legacy as the character. The action sequences are fantastic as well. The directing is great. Hyde Bardem's great as a villain. You get some incredibly tragic and emotional moments with this movie, and just all around an incredible movie. And I love these that I've always enjoyed coming back. Again, top tier James Bond movie. Then we have the 2 Spider-Man movies. We have Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm also putting this in the high money category. Again, obviously not one of the best MCU movies out there, but not like a top tier MCU movie, but it's a movie I still enjoy after watching it. Even after rewatching a lot of times since then, I still have a blast. Again, that has some weird humor in it that does kind of benefit being in the top tier in my opinion, but from Mysterio, Nick Fury, the post-credit scene, some characters getting a lot more development and a lot more interesting interactions. I always just have a blast with this movie. Especially with how it ends. No Way Home. Yes, I am putting No Way Home in the Golden Mine category, and I'm gonna say this: No Way Home is now my favorite Spider-Man movie. I know, I got no movie was going to top Spider-Man 2 as the best Spider-Man movie, but here we are. Yeah, and No Way Home is one of the movies I think has honestly gotten better the more I watch it, the more I think about it. It's basically a Spider-Man love letter to everyone that loves the Spider-Man and also the other movies as well. I say, well, I can't feel like a fan on nostalgia by bringing villains from the previous movies. It does. I think it does in a way where it feels earned and natural, and it's still connected with this version of Peter Parker's story in this movie. And you still go through a lot of emotional trauma here, especially what happens later on in the movie and how it ends. Like, it has some moments that are definitely on top tier MCU and top tier Spider-Man in general. And I think anybody was gonna talk Spider-Man 2 as my favorite Spider-Man movie, but the one about No Way Home, it just constantly gets better, and I still adore this movie and what it represents. And again, I was not excited for No Way Home, honestly, because of all that stuff I mentioned, but it ended up being what elevated this movie for me. Yeah, I can't leave either. Okay, now we get to the Star Wars. And clarify, I also do plan on doing a Star Wars tier list at some point as well. Just a heads up. So we have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yeah, I know like Phantom Menace, and yeah. What did I say about Phantom Menace? And Jar Jar sucks, honestly. The duel between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is fantastic, but everything else can go. Yeah. The Force Awakens. Going in the golden money category. Because, yes, despite the fact that, it doesn't really this whole trilogy is basically kind of confusing and everything. I think Force Awakens, in my opinion, is still one of the best Star Wars movies, and still one of the most rewatchable and fun to look back on. Especially because, like, Rey, Finn, and basically seeing the old characters with the new characters. It's so great and fun. It really brings back the true fun and magic of Star Wars. And despite, what happened to the later movies, I still look back to it. Then we have Rogue One, which is going in the good category. And of course, I think that's mostly because of some of the underdeveloped characters, some of the pacing issues in the first act that do prevent me actually loving it. But I think it's like when it really picks the war in Star Wars. Wars and the third act is amazing, and the fact that they also got an amazing show out of it with Andor. Again, I'll talk more on that when we get to the Star Wars tier list, but yeah, Rogue One, still a pretty good movie. The Last Jedi, also going in the golden category, honestly. Yes, I love The Last Jedi, but I love The Last Jedi. Probably one of the more divisive movies in recent memory. Like, I don't think most of them also divisive The Last Jedi, where you people are like, oh my god, this is the best movie ever, and like, oh my god, this is the worst movie ever. It's assassinated my childhood. Yeah, I love it, honestly. I love the bold and great directions it goes for. I actually love what they did Luke Skywalker here, and think it makes for a more interesting take on the character, honestly. Well, some people saying it may feel out of left field. And I understand that. I think he explains and everything, and all the stuff he's been through. It makes him more understandable. Honestly, I love what they did Kylo Ren and Rey here. I think we did Leia, and last time it's this character. Ash's character, unfortunately passed away before this, and then actually did with Poe, and it's also one of the most gorgeous looking Star Wars movie. Again, I can gush on this movie honestly, but I think it's, in my opinion, a fantastic movie. I think Force Awakens is definitely better honestly, but Last Jedi still delivers, and definitely, that recently has gotten better for me 5 years later. Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Rise of Skywalker is definitely a movie that I kind of like less the more I think about it. Again, I still think it's a bad movie. I think there's still enough fun and entertainment to where I don't think it's a downright bad movie. But this one happens when you pretty much like pander to fan base and none of the very high to fan service. And I still don't like the about Palpatine in this movie. I still don't like how they tried to resurrect this guy for some goddamn reason. I like he was the big, like the true villain in this trilogy when this comes out of left field. So yeah, not a bad movie. I don't think it's as terrible as it may have to be, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I wish it could have been better. Because this was the end of this trilogy and the end of Skywalker Saga. Yeah. Okay, only like 9 movies left to go. The Dark Knight. I've done it's going in the Golden Money category. And while the Benjamin game actually has knocked down as my favorite comic movie of all time, yes, it has got good in my opinion. The Dark Knight is still a fantastic movie. It's still Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. Truly is definition of how you do a sequel right. And a movie I've always enjoyed coming back to. And again, almost about 15 years since the movie came out. Can you believe it? 15 years that this legendary comic book masterpiece came out, where, again, it doesn't really feel like a comic book movie, and that's, my opinion, some of the best ones, honestly. And I'll say the same thing with The Dark Knight Rises, which is also going coming. I'll say it's probably my least favorite of the trilogy, but considering it's still in the gold money category, I should tell you how much I love The Dark Knight Rises. My opinion, definitely one of the best finales in any trilogy, honestly, and a perfect way to end the trilogy with the directions it goes for. I definitely understand people not being a fan of how it ends and some plot holes, but I think it's a true epic finale to these characters and to this world. I think it delivers. Then we have Joker. I'm actually putting this in the high money category, honestly. Yeah, Joker's probably my favorite comic book villain of all time. And I was kind of curious how they're going to portray this Joker, and honestly, I really haven't come back to this movie. I don't think, despite, again, Joker being my favorite comic book villain, but it's one of the movies I really admire and appreciate more than I actually love. I think there's still enough good quality to where it goes in this category, honestly. I don't think it's really a rewatchable movie in my opinion, but again, Joaquin Phoenix, I think it definitely deserved that Oscar when he got. He definitely plays his best performance in this movie. I think from the cinematography and the directions it goes for is great and admirable, and the cinematography is great, the score is great. And yeah, it's a movie I'm not going to come back to all that often, but I think for what it delivers, I think it delivers. And I'm actually kind of curious if what they're going to do with the sequel here, because then maybe apparently going to be a musical, apparently. Yeah. Titanic. The other James Cameron movie that made $2 billion. And the first one was, and it's going great here. Again, I still think it's a great movie, honestly. Again, some of it's Joker. It's not a movie I really come back to very often. A lot of it's really come to that feels way too long, in my opinion. But obviously, the love story between Jack and Rose is fantastic. Here, it's definitely one of the best romances in any movie, period. It has one of the most tragic endings in any movie, period. It's a beautiful, great-looking movie, and they do a great job with actually make you feel connected with these characters. So when the tragedy does happen, it just whoosh. Actually, the length does kind of benefit for actually come back to this movie all that often, but I still do enjoy it whenever I do come back to it. Again, speaking of James Cameron, yeah, enough said. Now we get to the Toy Story movies. Toy Story 3. Of course, going in the Golden Money category. In my opinion, my favorite of the Toy Story movies. In my opinion, this is my favorite of the Toy Story movies. Honestly, I also put the original, but I've always had a soft spot for Toy Story 3. So, and that's a long thing. I think all Toy Story movies are masterpieces, but I don't know what it is. I just always consider a lot more towards Toy Story 3. I don't know because of the weight of this movie. I don't know. It's because of the interaction. It has a beautiful ending, some of the best moments in the series, some of the most funny interactions between all these characters. In fact, it continues on more of what made the previous ones so great. I still love Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 4, another very divisive movie. Honestly, and because a lot of people thought it was going to be unnecessary, and honestly, I was one of the people that thought it was going to be unnecessary, that I think it shouldn't have existed. But personally, yes, I am putting it in the Golden Money category. The more about Toy Story 4, the more I actually love it. Honestly, this movie definitely continues to deliver what makes Toy Story movies so great. Pretty much putting end to Woody's character in his arc. I know some people think that it kind of goes out of character and for Woody, honestly, but honestly, I don't really think that, honestly. I think it's an actual conclusion to Woody as a character, and well, yeah, some of the characters are all kind of sidelined. I think this is kind of like Woody's story. I think it makes a lot more sense here. I love the idea of Bo Peep in this movie. That has some most gorgeous and realistic animation in any Pixar movie. Again, this movie genuinely shocked me how much I loved it. This is definitely the most surprising movie that came out that year, and a few years later, it's still fantastic. 3 movies to go, and oh boy, we get into the Transformers movies. The Transformers movies that made $1 billion. the Michael Bay ones. Because a lot of agree that after the first movie, the Transformers franchise really just went downhill. Honestly. Back to the Moon. I mean, it's definitely the best of these sequels, but it's still going in the back category. It's still been all the issues with the movie, with the story, and actually has a little more fun and oomph to it. Age of Extinction, however, definitely the worst of these 52 movies in my opinion. Like, I freaking hate this movie. And somehow the last night manages to basically somehow the last night was somehow worse than this. It's actually last night's actually one of my worst movies of all time. Actually, Age definitely isn't that. It's still not a good movie in the slightest. I still do not like Age of Extinction at all. Like, so long that I want to try to go here don't really even appear much in the movie at all. Not even the charismaticness of Mark Wahlberg can say this mess of a movie. The movie and the characters are just so one note and blah. Just, yeah. And the last movie we're talking about is Disney's Zootopia, which is going in the high money category. I definitely admire the more, appreciate the more I think about it. I think the world building is great, the character development is great, and Nick, I think, a fantastic character. I like the messages that it tells, and they still hold up very well to this day. And it's, what's happening? Money, high money, great money, good money, good money. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed my ranking of all 52 movies that have made $1 billion at the box office. It was like really fun to do, and I would love to know your ranking of all of these movies down below in the comments. So I'd love to know how would you rate all these movies that have made $1 billion. Definitely let me know down below. I have a lot more from TLC's coming over very soon. Stay for that. I'm Samuel World from Samuel World Productions. I will see you next time as always. Stay cool, everybody. Peace.